Shell sees new role for former Steel Region Plastics. Monica, Pennsylvania. The expansive Royal Dutch Shell chemical processing plant under construction on a big bend of the Ohio River in western Pennsylvania is one of the largest and most expensive projects ever to be built along the tributary. It's not only the plant's mammoth scale that has attracted attention. Just as significant, that era is over, Shell executives say. The sentiment is shared. For the first time in 2 generations, steel girders and worn tubing are not being dismantled along the banks of the Upper Ohio and shipped away. Instead, the 386-acre plant replaces a long-shuttered zinc smelter. It is among the most. We repurposed a previous industrial area, and we created a place with new jobs to take the place of jobs at that old plant, said Hillary Mercer, Shell's vice president for Pennsylvania Chemicals, who is supervising the construction. This was a huge. Shell never discloses the cost of its projects, said Ms. Mercer, who has worked for Shell for 31 years and overseen projects to build liquid natural gas processing plants in 12 other countries. But an economic Trey Hamblett, vice president for global research of Industrial Info Resources, a consulting firm in Texas that tracks plant construction around the world, said that price was inaccurate. Based on his firm's, Shell ended its polyethylene production in 2005 in the face of increasing costs and growing competition, but it began evaluating a return in 2012. At the time, in 2005, the first wells were drilled in the region. Since then, during the same period, billions of dollars were spent on gas separation plants, pipelines, pumping stations, gas-fired electrical generating stations and shipping terminals. The investments the gas supply in the 3-state region is enough to last at least half a century at current rates of consumption, according to the Energy Information Administration, the statistics unit of the Department of Energy. The national market. The company's decision in June 2016 to build the plant opened the 3rd stage of gas development, the production of ethane and polyethylene. One of Shell's growth aspirations is in chemicals, Ms. Mercer said. If you look at almost every polyethylene factory in the United States is on the Gulf Coast. But more than 70. Proximity to markets, lower transportation costs and lower prices for ethane are competitive advantages that strengthen Shell's decision to proceed, Ms. Mercer said. Shell was also in. The Ohio River plant will subject ethane to high heat and pressure to crack the chain of carbon molecules to produce ethylene. When completed, more than 6,000 tradespeople and laborers will be on the site during the peak summer construction period. Some 600. The Shell plant is already drawing attention from competitors. In December, China Energy Investment Corporation, the country's largest energy company, signed a memorandum of understanding with West Virginia in 2017 to invest $83.7 billion in gas-related power, chemical, and storage projects in the Upper Ohio River Valley. The agreement was all the activity has generated resistance from environmental and public health groups, which have expressed concern about the effects of the chemical corridor on air and water quality. Emissions of industry calls it a game changer, said Dustin White, project coordinator for the Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition in Huntington, West Virginia. We see it as game. Real estate developers, though, are enjoying a rebound in construction. Charles J. Betters, chairman of C.J. Betters Enterprise. This is the best thing to happen in our region in 40-plus years, he said. The leaders of the Community College of Beaver County, 2 miles from the plant, also anticipate sharp growth in the market for skilled labor. The college is trained. Such job opportunities and wages are starting to break through the deep economic and psychic torpor that gripped the region, said Roger W. Davis, the college president. People were still mourning the steel mills that closed in 1985, Dr. Davis said. We are moving into a
raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.